day, every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what breaking the black barrier mean, man. What
Come
they
on,
look
man.
like,
What is
man?
black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man.
Huh?
The Copper Color King Cash More and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up for understand what black is. It's the essence, it's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called Fort Apache. Huh? The Bronx was called Fort Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby. For all the ancestors out there, baby. Alright, what it do, chicken stew? What it do, chicken stew family? It's the Copper Color King, man. We back in this bad boy with some more good content. Some more fire for the soul, man. Some more truth. Some more truths for the soul. We unlocking different realms of history every time we go through these articles on this here live stream, man. I promise y'all, tune in to every freaking video that we put out, because I promise you every single one is informative. Every single one is informative. And you know what? Every video that goes out should help the Copper Color community get more in tune with their ancestral heritage. And when I say copper colored, I'm talking about all folks who are melanated here in the Americas. Here in the Americas. Why? How you like them things, sis? Let me know how you like them. That's the first one that I put out. And I got many more coming. Many more. I just got some in the mail today. I'm super proud of those. I'm not even gonna lie. I appreciate you for your support. You know, the support on this side gonna always be coming through. You know, every time you put out something new, every time you put up some content, we gonna be there, man. Copper Color King gonna be there. More or less though, yeah, man. These videos should be helping people get in touch or get in tune with the true ancestral heritage. And a part of that is understanding the truths and the lies that hide in between or in between or beneath the surface layer, right? It's a lot of lies that they told over the years, right? A lot of cover-ups, right? The Racial Integrity Act of 1924, you know, Walter Pleckler and the paper genocide, you know, making Indians white and making Indians black and whatnot, right? And then we got a whole period of history that talks about the transatlantic slave trade, and they pushed this whole theory of them bringing Africans from the west coast of Africa, which did happen, right? Just it didn't happen the way they said it did, right? We got that whole story being pushed our way, forcing us all to believe that we have African ancestry. We don't know where to go. We don't know what to call it. We don't know what to call ourselves. We just go with the paper genocide insignia, and that is black. Right? So we even debunked a lot of that, learning and understanding that they were bringing copper-colored Europeans over here, you know, Jews, right? Conversos, crypto Jews. Ah, man, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, crypto Jews, man, I ain't gonna lie, you got me blushing right now. That's crazy. Nah, I appreciate it though. That's love. But yeah, man, like I said, crypto Jews, Mohammedans, like Muslims, all sorts of people, they were shipping over here from Europe, right? And Christopher Columbus, 1492, the day he sailed the ocean, was probably around the same time when a lot of these folks were coming over here to America, right? And then we go back even further, and that we learn and understand that a lot of the tribes here in the Americas were even whitewashed or covered up, or, you know, the truth was just hidden in some way, shape, or form. And we're gonna talk about it, right? Right? I mentioned this book in the last live stream that I did. Is called Races of Mankind, right? Being a popular description of the characteristics, manners, and customs of the principal varieties of the human family, by Robert Brown. Right, that's the title of this book. And what they talk about in this book is the different races of human beings that we have here on this earth. And they make note of, in the first chapter, the very first chapter, they make a lot of notes of the Eskimo, right? And where they come from, and their religious customs, you know, their phenotypes, how they look, you know, what people can describe them as. And I'll tell y'all right now, what they describe in the description of the Eskimo is a straight up Siberian, right? And those are the same people that we know and see today as Native Americans, right? Native Americans. Now, let's look up the definition of the term native, right? Native, right? A person born in a specified place or associated with a place by birth, whether subsequently resident there or not. Now, what this means is that any person who is native to a land, it means that they were born there. It does not mean that they are indigenous or aboriginal, right, to a specific landmass. It means that they were born there. So these people, these Siberians that we know today as Native Americans, were able to obtain that title once their bloodline came over here into the Americas. Once they started having kids in the Americas, they became Native Americans. People born in a specified place. We, sis, me and you, and for those who else are watching, us, we are Native Americans, right? We were born here in America. Native Americans, right? If you want to call them Native Americans, then we can obviously pick up on the title as well. The difference between us and them is that we have Aboriginal ancestry. There's nothing that ties us to a person with Asian features or Mongoloid features, or whatever the case may be, right? For some of us, like I said, some of us in America have African ancestry. But what I mean by nothing ties us back to these Asiatic peoples is that Well, let me just say this right here, right? We have groups and tribes of peoples who crossed over the Bering Strait, right? That look like this, right? That we call Native Americans today, but they are Siberians. For example, these people right here, these are the Ket people of Siberia. And they have ties to the Navajo here in America. So we're going to talk about these Ket peoples, right? Another group of people we're going to talk about is the Koryak peoples. The Koryak peoples, another Siberian tribe of indigenous folks, you know, they are indigenous to Siberia. A lot of these peoples also have links to some of the tribes here in America. And I just want to show y'all, right, what some of these Koryak people look like. You know, their dress and wears and how they carry themselves, right? Just look at how they dress, right? How they go about their daily, you know, coverings. You know, it looks very similar to what we see today here in America, right? Here in America, these Native Americans, right? These natives born here in America. A lot of it is similar, right? A lot of it is similar. It more than what we may think. More than what we may think, because I'll tell y'all this, right? People talk about how the Aztecs and whatnot may be black and, you know, their ancestral ties to the Aztecs or whatever. But even the Aztecs, right? The people we know today as Aztecs, they came over here from a place that they call Aztlan. 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 And when we were talking, right, when we were going through the Mongol and Tartar invasion of America, they make mention of the 7 tribes who arrived from Aztlan to America. Aztlan being Southwest United States, right? It's a lot of history over there too, because like I said in the last one, the Queen Khalifa story, right? And her symbol being the griffin, and then the griffin having ties to the Tartarian flag, and then the Tartars, Mongols, Queen Khalifa and her peoples, the Aztecs, Mexicans, and all of these peoples having one common symbol, and that being the eagle. The eagle, right? So when I make mentions of a lot of these things, it's always to point out how there's some type of common relation, right? There's a similarity, and where you find similarities, you can always trace that similarity back to the origin and its source. And the Aztecs, the people we know today as Aztecs, are not indigenous or aboriginal to America. They are also Native Americans. So I say all this to say, man, check this clip out real quick. I just want to show y'all this, right? I got it on my TikTok. For those who don't follow me on TikTok, make sure you go follow Copper Color King. We going up. Help me get to 10,000 followers on TikTok. If I could get to 10,000 followers on TikTok, I'll be able to live stream my videos on TikTok. And I have a huge fan base up here. I really want to get that done, y'all. So show a brother some love, but check this clip out.
Here it is. My test results. Can you hear my heart beating? Oh, the white man.
No. Y'all do know they using mixed people to identify who's an indigenous American, right? Like an original American. You do know that. A person with Neanderthal blood. What? And we keep telling y'all they don't have the southeastern tribes in their database. Come on, man. And they don't deal with what happened in the past, bro. They don't deal with that. That's the reason you got stuff like Nigerian on the test, because it's not operating based off what happened 400 years ago, right? It's an ethnicity estimation, okay? I'm covering up his face and his first name, but they're using people with Neanderthal blood for who the first American was. Now, how is that a thing when Neanderthals wasn't in America? But we keep telling y'all these DNA tests is, it's not based off ancient history. And y'all get mad when I tell y'all I'm 100% American. But y'all better know how to read. Stop doing that bandwagon and shit.
Y'all heard the brother, man. Y'all heard the brother, and y'all see it. We learned that in the Mound Builders book that they were people, European cavemen, who migrated here to the Americas. Right? Check this out.
These are the Koyak people of Siberia. I want y'all to peep how they move. Peep their attire. Peep their chants. Peep the TP in the back. These are the Edelman people of Siberia. I want y'all to peep how they move. Peep their chants. Peep their attire. Peep the women with the 2 braids. This is a so-called Native American. Peep how he move. Peep the teepees in the back. Peep his attire. Peep the chants. These are also so-called Native Americans. Peep the way they move. Peep their attire. Peep the chants. Peep the women with the 2 braids. Do y'all get?
Now, right? I'm just saying, right? People be telling me like I'm a pretendian. Ain't no way you could call me a pretendian when you have these people, right, bringing they stuff over here and then calling themselves Indians, right? If that's not a pretendian, then I don't know what else is. I don't know what else is. As a matter of fact, right? Let's look at these chums real quick. These chums, right? We know these chums to be teepees. They are teepees to us, right? In history, we've learned them to be teepees, right? But they're really called nomadic chums, right? And then that's a tribe of Siberians, but they're called chums. These teepees that we see in American history today that are given to us by Native Americans, right, are called chums. They are called chums. So that is another thing that comes from over that way. It is not indigenous to America. The way we made homes, we made them out of earth. Mounds, right? We built mounds. Earth. We didn't even build the temples. Why? Because when our ancestors were dwelling in the Americas, right, we were in the Neolithic and Paleolithic ages. And we progressed over time as we intermarried and intermingled with these different peoples coming from all over the globe. You know, we got Melanese, Australoids, Polynesian, we got all of that here in America, right? We got Egyptians, right? True story. Ethiopians, those type of peoples, we got them here in America. Right? So before we even continue, I want to pull something up, right? This is important because what? You know what, I'm gonna skip over it because it's not like we went over it already. So let's talk about these Ket people real quick, right? So the inexplicable origins of the Ket people of Siberia, right? The Ket are an indigenous people who live in Siberia and are regarded to be one of the smallest ethnic groups in that region. They live in a very, very isolated area. So one thing we got to understand is that these people came to America because America had the resources they were looking for in order for them to thrive as a civilization. And I'm not saying the Ket people, I'm just saying where the Ket people come from. Remember, I said they share a linguistic similarity with the Navajo people, which means their language stock has an origin. And wherever that origin comes from, those people broke off, right? And one folks went one way and the other folks went another way. But they still share that ancestral language similarity. So yeah, what it say? Their parents' language and traditional semi-nomadic lifestyles has scientists bewildered by their origins, with some proposing links to the native tribes of North America. There is even Ket folklore that they came from space. What might be the true origin of these seemingly out of place people? And this is from Ancient Origins, right? Unveiling Mysteries of the Past. The word Ket may be translated to mean person or man, and is the modern name of this particular Siberian ethnic group. Prior to this, however, they were known as the Oystok, right? Or the Yense Oystok, which is a Turkic word which means stranger. Turkic, Mongol, whatever you want to call it. We're going to say Mongol, Tartarian, all the same thing, right? Because we know Genghis Khan conquered all of these people. He invaded these lands and conquered all of these people. So, which is a reflection of the area where they lived. The Ket originally settled in the middle and lower basins of the Yenisei River, which is located in the present-day Krasnoyarsk Krai of Russian Federal District of Siberia. And just to give y'all a background of what they talking about, right? We get all of these different Siberian ethnic groups, Turkic ethnic groups, and Tartars, right? Tartars all around. The Tartars, Nenets, all of these different Siberian ethnic groups, right? This is where they live, this is where they from, and this is who they surrounded by. They traditionally had a nomadic existence, hunting and trading fur from animals such as squirrel, fox, deer, hare, and bear with Russian traders. They built tents from wood, these chums, birch bark and pelts with wood, breed reindeer, and fish from canoes. Many of these activities are practiced till this day, right? Even this breeding reindeer is something that was practiced by some of the tribes here in America, right? That a lot of them speak about it, their ancestors being able to tame and breed reindeers and stuff, whatever. And the Siberian Husky. Whilst the cat population has been remarkably stable during the 20th century, remaining at 1,000 members, there has been a gradual decline in the number of native speakers of the Ket language. This language is unique, as it is considered to be a living linguistic fossil. Linguistic studies conducted on the Ket language have led to the theory that these people are somehow related to a certain Native American tribes of North America, and that the latter had migrated from Siberia many millennia ago. Certain Native American tribes. All right, I appreciate it, love. Tap in. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. We talking real facts. We ain't never telling no lies. Everything all truths. We helping people get in tune with that ancestral history. Yeah, they will admit that they're from Asia. As a matter of fact, the Navajos themselves say that their ancestors migrated from far north, right? But this is the thing, right? We got to understand that some of them, knowing that they came from Asia, have came to the Americas a long time ago. And this is where we get this Aztlan, this ancestral home of the Aztec people. I spoke about it in the last live stream. But this is where we get Aztlan from. You know, and Aztlan is described in being in Southwest America. Right? Southwest America. So could this be the Far East Asia that people talk about? You know, the East Asia, the farthest east that the Asians went, or that you could go as far as Asia? The Aztecs got their ancestry coming from Aztlan. So, you know, it's a lot with that. You know, it's a lot. Some will admit that they're from Asia. Some will claim that they're American, they're Native American, whatever the case may be. We just defined what native to America means, a person born here. So we don't know. You know, it's a lot that happened in the antediluvian world. Antediluvian meaning pre-flood. And it's a lot that happened after the flood. This is why understanding the Bible story and the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth is very important, because even these people, the Aztecs, right, these Siberians, a lot of these people are descendants of Japheth. So we know even from that, they have no ties to us. They have no ties to us, right? No ties. And I'm gonna say that with my chest out, boldly, not gonna lie, right? But yeah, let's continue. So yeah, like they just said, it's somehow related to certain Native American tribes of North America. Now the Ket folklore, let's pay attention to this, right? The Kets were aliens, quote unquote, who came from the stars. This is where sun and moon worship comes from. Another legend states that the Kets originally settled in southern part of Siberia, either in the area around the Altai and Sayan Mountains or between Mongolia and Lake Baikal. They were definitely conquered by Genghis Khan and his people. The arrival of invaders in the area, however, forced the Kets to flee to the Siberian taiga in the north. The legend states that these invaders were the Taistad, or stone people, who may have been some of the peoples who formed the early steppe confederations of the Huns, right? Huns, children of Japheth, right? Mongols, Tartars, Turks. It has also been suggested that these people were nomadic reindeer pastoralists and horse herders. And check this out. Look at them with their almost coppery skin complexions, but they're mongoloid, straight out the box features. Straight up though. Straight up mongoloid. This is pictures from 1913. They look like they would be Mongols, right? But these are the people who have ties to the folks here in America. The language of the Ket people, right? This is the most puzzling part. For a start, the Ket language is unlike any other. Spoken in Siberia, in fact, this language belongs to a linguistic group known as the Yeniseian, which means the Navajo come from the Yeniseian, which consists of a number of related languages that were spoken in the Yensei region. Apart from the Ket, all of the other languages in this family are now extinct. The Yuk language, for example, was declared extinct in 1990, whilst the rest, including the Knot and Aran languages, died out by the 19th century. Check this part out. Where we at? Okay. The Ket language has attracted the attention of linguists, as it is believed that this language is derived from a Proto-Yensenian language that may have been related to such diverse languages as Basque in Spain, Barushkia in India, as well as Chinese and Tibetan, right? All of this coming from the Mongol conquest, right? Because we know the Mongols pretty much dominated all of this part. They control majority of the globe, right? And within that Mongol conquest, you had many different peoples who were freely able to practice and speak their languages. They just had to submit to the Khan, right? But this is why you see these different language branches in these different countries and different areas, right? Edward Vajda, a historical linguist in Western Washington University, has even hypothesized that the Ket language may be related to the Na-Dene language family of North America, which includes such languages as Tlingit and Athabaskan. So what is the Na-Dene language family? Right, the Na-Dene language family is a family of Native American languages that includes at least the Athabaskan languages, the Eyak, Tlingit languages, and Haida. It was formerly included but now considered doubtful. Right, the major language of the Na-Dene group is Navajo, spoken by a large Indian populations in Arizona and New Mexico. Right, the Navajo have ties to these people. Right, the Navajos, not them hoes, right? And then what we got, it says this 2008 study shows that the Ket spoken in Siberia and Na-Dene language of the Navajo are cognate languages. Another study that traces the connection based on DNA has been reported at Science Daily. This comes from Just Genesis, an anthropology article published by Alice C. Lindsay. Right, the linguist evidence indicates that the Yesenian family of languages spoken in central Siberia is most closely related to the Na-Dene family of languages spoken. For the most part, in northwestern North America, this hypothesis locates the source of one of the 3 migrations responsible for the peopling of the Americas. And they say peopling as if people weren't already here. We already learned that there were people here. Right? We learned that already. These reports indicate that some native peoples of the Pacific Northwest, Alaska, and the American Southwest came from Asia, right? What they never mentioned, though, like the brother said in the TikTok, is the people of the Southeast. Our people, right? Dumb folks who come from down that way, down south. They never make mentions of that. Why? Because there is no connection. Navajo is definitely a recent term. Yeah, it is. Right? It's just as new as the 5 civilized tribes, right? A lot of these tribes, right, their ancestries can only go back as far as about 1300. Before that, they were a part of different groups that held different names. They just branched off due to the intermarrying and the intertribal wars or whatever the case may be. Like the same stuff you had going on in the Middle East, Europe, it was happening here in America. Why? Because those same people over there had different branches here in America, right? Just like how we have Mongols here in America. You had copper colored, the Jew, you had Israelites, right? Let's just say Israelites, Moors, right? Darker skinned people that's connected to a certain faith, right? But they don't talk about it like how we talk about it today. You know, Jews, Christians, Muslims. It was something completely different terms, you know, different ways of worship. It wasn't no pen and paper. They didn't follow no Bible, right? This is why we have Hebrew inscriptions here in America that predate the arrival of Christopher Columbus or any other invader, the Danes, right? Anybody else, like the Vikings, what I mean, not the Danes, the Vikings, these Mongols. It predates their arrival. They weren't here when these things were left in our country. That's something we got to understand, right? Back to what we were saying, though. This is not new information among anthropologists or linguists. What is new information is the migration of the Nilotic Anu. This Ainu did not come across the Bering Strait. They came through Finland, Greenland, and Labrador to eastern Canada. Why is this not grabbing media attention, right? Because they stick to this Bering Strait. They coming from the Bering Strait, right? But we know, we have already debunked that there were different routes to get here to America. How did Mongo Kapak get here? He didn't cross the Bering Strait. He came via the southwest, right? Over there by Peru and whatnot. You know, the people of Atzlan, they, according to their history, were here already in the Americas, quote unquote. But they've had to travel here via boat around that time, via boat. The Mongols built ships. They could travel, right? These were some of the tribes and peoples coming out of the flood. That's why I say they're Japheth's sons, because they're tribes of the sons of Japheth, right? Moving forward, like I said, check it out. Right, this is Ketland, and this is all of the tribes that they're next to. I just want to make important mention of these Tartars, right? They got Tartars next to them. Tartars being also a part of the Khan, the Mongols, which means a lot of these other tribes are more than likely a part of the Khan, right? I'm going to save this article for another one because it talks about the Siberian landscapes and Ket traditional culture and possibly the comparisons between them and the North American tribes, right? Some of the tribes here in North America, specifically, the Navajo, right? And check out the inscriptions, just showing y'all some of the stuff that come from their culture, that come from their people. Let's see if they got something else. They had something else. All right, that's the end of it. But yeah, and then as we go into it, like I said, you know, the Koryak people, another tribe of Siberia, right, indigenous to Siberia, practiced in shamanism. Now we're going to make shamanism important because a lot of the tribes here in America practice shamanism. Shamanism is another form, if we want to say, of Buddhism, but also mixed with that Hinduism or paganism, sun and moon worship. And they know this as Estatarianism, if I'm not mistaken, and Vedism, religions of the Vedas. So as we go deeper into it, like I said, they practice in shamanism. Another tribe is the Chukchi. That's another tribe of Siberia, you know, who have ties to the tribes here in America. But moving forward, though, enough with them. Just to make this make more sense for y'all, right? This is from the Mound Builders Ancient Work and Relics book. And in this book here, they talk about how tribes came here to the Americas, and they are even able to admit that they are very different from those who dwelt here before. Check it out. So what they say in the book is that the traditions of the Indians prove that the lands have been inhabited by different races and at different periods. These traditions prevail not only among the northern Indians such as the Delawares, the Iroquois, and the Algonquins, but also among the southern tribes such as the Cherokees, the Creeks, Choctaws, and Muskogees, right? Because we all know even these tribes right here got Mongol washed. I say Mongol washed because I don't want to use whitewashed. They got Mongol washed, infiltrated, right? We know them today as the 5 civilized tribes. And it's so funny because we connect this to the $5 Indian, where people were being given access to become a part of the nation for only $5, like white people. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all, right? Give me that opportunity back in the day, I'm taking it. I'm taking it. I'm gonna cough up that 5 cash, because that 5 cash gonna lock me in for a long time. Not just a good time, for a long time, right? Because this is what locked these $5 Indians until this day. And it's so funny to me because it's like, you still got these tribes being represented by Siberians when we know their ancestry is completely different, which means that some of these people may still be coming over here. I just watched the video the other day of Peter Santinello visiting some Navajos, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Navajos, right? And one of the dudes in the nation could barely speak English. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you got Spanish people, they come over here 10, 20 years, they eventually learn how to speak English. Africans learn how to speak English. Jamaicans, as strong as their accent are, they get it together eventually. Mexicans can, Chinese people can. Why the hell these niggas can't speak no English? It just made me think, yo, they still coming over here. Right, and they just letting anybody in the doors, right, who could become a part of the nation. Because in order for them to remain a sovereign entity, they have to have members, tribal members. And I doubt these mother lovers with their small families can expand this much with the little resources that they do have. They don't have much. That's the crazy part. I'm not gonna lie. It is a little tricky on them reservations, man. It's nasty out there. I ain't gonna cap. But yeah, man, they still represented by Mongols till this day. And look, they're all of them indicating that they were later migrations and that other races were in the valley before these tribes reached it. Other races were in the valley before these tribes reached it. The traditions of some of the Indians, especially those of the South, point back to a period to when their ancestors began the process of mound building. We did not live in teepees. The stuff you see them building, if they were us, they would build mounds. They don't build mounds anymore. You will not find earthworks. The mound building era is dead. And even that era was filled with many different groups of peoples. But this is where you have some of the copper-colored people here in America. Your ancestry goes back this far because their bloodlines never died off. You get what I'm saying? They never died off. They just continue to move on with the times. But like you said, sis, here they are admitting that they are not of the same people. They're admitting to it, right? They are not the mound builders, right? They are not the mound builders. The relics and remains prove also a succession of races. This is an important point. To double back the traditions of some of the Indians back to the south, right? It also says, with other traditions point to a time they began to occupy the mounds, which had been built by another and preceding people. Nowhere, however, it is claimed that the Indians were the first people who occupied the country, or that their ancestors were the first races who built the mounds. Indians in this book meaning Native Americans. So the question may arise then, who built the mounds? Who left the Hebraic inscriptions here in America? Go ahead and tell me it was a Mongol, because they didn't have a writing system like them, right? They didn't speak the languages they spoke. They didn't speak Hebrew, right? They didn't speak Arabic. I'm not going to throw Aramaic in there because I don't know too much about that. But they didn't speak these languages. Going up to the next one. Look, this takes us back to the Mongol and Tartar conquest of America. Like I said, in the 1100s, 6 tribes came to Mexico. 6 tribes. 7, sorry. The Xochimecs, Chalecs, Tapanecs, Alculahans, Talihuics, Talacastecs, or Teotihuacs, and the Aztecs, or Mexicans, who, as well as the Chechemecs. And this one is very interesting too, because I think the Choctaw and Chickasaw come from these people. I'm not gonna lie. And this is from their own stories. This is from another book. If you check out my older videos, we spoke about the Choctaw and Chickasaw migration here into America. Go check it out. It's on my channel. But they make mention, I think, of the Chichimecs or some people, right? And if I'm not mistaken, we can draw this similarity, but that will also defend the point that the tribes that we see today were invaded by Mongols, right? Invaded by Mongols, right? And they came from Aztlan, Southwest America. So this just proves that, anybody that would claim that they're Native American today, right, would show and prove that they have this Siberian and Mongol ancestry. And even still, native to America, you were born here in America. So you can have that title, but you are not a Tautanist. You are not indigenous, right? There's a difference. There is a difference. When I look at the ancestral pictures from my family, I can see it, right? I can see the non-Asian features. No one looks Mongoloid, right? But yet we have these titles in the census of being Indians, right? They copper colored, no Mongoloid features, but they have this Indian title. I'm just saying we got to speak the truth for what it is, man. But yeah, going into the book, man, Races of Mankind, right? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about these Eskimo, right? The American, the Eskimo. And we're going to finish off on page 20, right? Because this is another one that I even started reading into and kind of got tired, because it's like they talking about a lot, but it's 80 pages alone about the Northwestern American tribes. And they make a lot of mentions of the many different tribes over there and where they come from, what they mixed with, what they look like. And that one is gonna blow your mind, especially when I bring it to the channel. And then we're gonna move forward throughout this book, and we're gonna talk about the tribes of California, the ones of the Central Plains, the northeastern and southeastern tribes, right? Caribs, Arawaks, Seminoles, Creeks, Choctaws, Cherokees, Shawnees, Senecas. We're going to go through all of it, and they're going to give a lot of the phenotypes and descriptions of their ways and characters, right? So let's continue though. So we're going, like I said, chapter 1, right? They're going to talk about the Eskimo. Let me zoom this in a little bit. So what it say, man? The families of men. It has been usual to divide the human race into the following families: the Caucasian, comprehending most of Europe and some of the Asiatic peoples, the Mongolian, such as the Chinese, Tartars, and etc., the Malay, or natives of the Oceanic and Indian islands, the American, and the Ethiopian or African races. This classification, though widely adopted, is open to many objections. Other classifications have been based on the formation of the skull and particularly on the languages. The latter is especially apt to be fallacious. Many races which have almost an identical language being of widely different origin, while others have dropped their original language and taken that of the people among whom they are placed, right? Others have dropped their original languages and taken that of the people of whom they are placed. This brings us back to the Ket and the Navajo, them sharing a common language. Like they said, this language is going extinct, right? And before that, it was of an Yesenian language, right? This Yesenian language died off because these people picked up on another language from either those who invaded or dwelt with them, and it caused their language to die off, so that when the Navajos got here, they picked up on a whole different language themselves. Either that, or they carried branches of the language with them and mixed in with other peoples and were able to establish a new language. That's how these things work, right? That's how it works. It's just like with English too, right? If it wasn't for living in America for so long, we still would be saying probably the oi, mate, or the here he. We would probably still be doing that because they was doing that in the 1700s. I don't know where it changed or how it changed, but that's what it was. An ingenious philologist may unite the most distant families, but all of this only points to the pristine unity of man. It is, however, immaterial on what basis we classify the different races of men, especially in a work of this nature. The chief object of which is to describe them as they are present exists upon the earth. On the whole, a more or less geographical arrangement will prove to be not only the most convenient, but in many respects the most correct also. It will be found in the course of our travels among the uncivilized nations of men that the people living together are in vast number of instances of the same origin. People living together are in vast number of instances of the same origin. Same origin. Remember that. Remember this. And with customs very similar, whatever their source. The fact that they have to contend against similar physical circumstances, are surrounded by like conditions of life, by intermarriage, the institution of slavery, and etc., and has often had the effect of molding their ways of life and their language into similar shape. Boom. Boom. True history. Like, I love it. True history. Yeah, talk that shit, big dog. True history. That's real history right there, because this is what it's about. This is what it was. This is why things changed. This is why we are where we are today with this whole black people are Native American or indigenous to the America stuff. It's hard to trace it back when we've been sucked in by intermarriage, institutions of slavery, and that molded our way of life and our language. Everything we say, even the words we use with each other, nigga this, nigga that, B word this, B word that, right? Where do you think that stuff comes from? If you was on the plantation for so long hearing somebody saying nigga, 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 then eventually you're going to start using it. right? That's all you know. It molded your way of life. Therefore, without vouching for the strictness of its philological or anatomical accuracy, we shall find it at least convenient to adopt a classification of mankind with Latham into the following groups, which the reader may term races, families, or species, just as his particular views or conscientiousness as to the something in the name may lead him. 1. Americans, 2. Oceanic group, 3. Turians, 4. Persian group, 5. The Indian stock, 6. The Africans, and 7. The Caucasians, 8. The Europeans. Under these heads we shall be able to sketch in greater or less detail the chief types of the human race. Alright, that's the introduction. So, in chapter 1, when Columbus discovered the New World, he considered that he had came upon a part of India, and accordingly he called the natives of the American continent Indians, right? So a term from 1492, not describing who we are, a name by which they are familiarly known to this day. The name is, of course, geographically incorrect, America having nothing to do with India. Still, as long use has rendered it difficult to lay the name altogether aside. And as everybody knows what is meant by the American Indians, I shall continue to use it in the following pages. The American race, take them as a whole, is a very homogeneous one, occupying the whole continent from the Arctic Ocean to Cape Horn. And though differing much in language, yet presenting many general characteristics, they are, as rule, robust, well-made, strong, active specimens of humanity, and with the exception of the Eskimo branch, rather tall. The skull, when unaltered, is of an oval shape, but the forehead is in general low and sloping. Many tribes we shall by and by see flatten the forehead by artificial means, but other tribes, like the ancient Mexicans, are naturally so formed. That's why they got them round heads. When you see Mexicans now, them round heads, the Olmec skull, right? The skull, right? That's the best representation of what it is, right? These people also being copper colored. Indeed, the Aztecs used to represent their gods as possessing flattened foreheads, which they thought a mark of great beauty. Probably it was this idea that led them to produce the same effect by artificial means, right? The practicing of flattening the heads. All of this being something that was even carried over from Siberia. Remember, Aztecs are Siberians as well. The nose in the greater number at least of the North American tribes is long, aquiline, and well defined. The mouth is not of great size. The eyes are rather sloping in many of them. The teeth set vertically in the gums, while the lips do not much differ from those of Europeans. Their eyes are brown, and the hair long, straight, and black. When any beard is present, it is but scanty, though it is generally plucked out. The color of the skin varies from a light brown to a coppery brown, right? Tribes of Americas. They talking about North America. This is with the exception of the Eskimo branch, right? And when we include the Mexicans and Aztecs, the Tartars, right? We're going to call them Tartars. We know, and we already learned that they were of a copper color, right? Copper color, melanated people, right? But still being from Siberia. So this just means that they also have melanated people over there in Siberia. Either that, or when they mixed in with the people here in America, they developed some type of melanation, melanin, right? And some tribes being almost black. Tribes of the Americas, right? Now, this is important. We got to understand, because they say this is with the exception of the Eskimo branch. The Eskimo branch is the Native American branch, right? Let's make this make sense. Completely different. However, some Eskimos are also of a coppery color. Genghis Khan himself The Khan is said to he was copper colored. He had color. He had some melanin, right? Let's check this. The race is rather high in intelligence and in physical appearance, but is entirely a nation of hunters and fishers, living with few exceptions in a state of savagedom, and only in rare instances cultivating any portion of the soil. So they did not harvest fruits or anything like that. That's what makes them entirely different. Now, why, you may ask that question, why not make use of the land? Well, where they come from, there wasn't no land to make use of. Let's remember, Siberia's climate is extremely, extremely cold. So you can't grow fruits and veggies the way you can here in Southeast United States, Florida, right, or California, right? It's different. This is why they came here in the first place, because they knew or heard from other people about what America possesses, what's over here in America, right? What's over here? We got to get to America, man. Like, this been the land of opportunity, right? This been the land where you come to make something happen. The American dream been a thing. That's why they love it. That the American Indians originally came from the Asiatic coast, there can, I think, be but little doubt. Remember, Asiatic people can also be Australoid or Melanese or Malay or Polynesian. That's all Asiatic right there. The Mongol appearance is very marked among the tribes nearest that coast, right? Nearest that coast, right? Near the Pacific. That is on the shores of the Pacific, right? They make a clear exemption from the Southeast again, but gets less noticeable as we go eastward. What you talking about? Big difference. Big difference. Sis, they not like us. What Kendrick say? They not like us. They are not like us, man. It's a difference. Bitch, it's a difference. It's a difference. Indeed, the traditions of the Western American Indian all point to the still further westward as the land they came from, as while the Eastern Indians say that they came from the West. A great medicine man went before them and every night planted a red pole where they came to encamp. Right? This is the basically like the Choctaw and Chickasaw migration story, like the Creek, Seminole, these people all coming from Mexico, that area, right? They were fleeing while the Aztecs and them were going south into Mexico with their savage ways. The people that were there were fleeing, right? The serpent worshippers, they were there, they were fleeing, right? The believers of Quetzalcoatl, the true Quetzalcoatl, not the Aztec and the Mongol made one, right? Because they stole that from the people that are already there. I'm gonna prove that to y'all in a later live stream, right? But they fled north. So this is what they mean by west, not west from Asia, but west from our part of America. Now I don't know where we came from before that, right? I could just trace us back that far. Don't quote me on it. Probably got to watch Cootie Mayo or something to understand that. But that's as far as I've gotten, you know, to understand that part. But they say it. The Mongol appearance is very marked among the tribes on the west. But on the east, you don't see it. So if it's not Mongol, then what is it? It's not European. It's not Caucasian, because they just said that is coppery brown to almost black. So then what is it? Right? A vast amount of speculation has been spent on an interesting question as to the origin of the Indian. From the Topsy-like hypotheses of the extreme German and French school, that they growed or sprung into existence just where they are and did not come by migration from any other place, to the theory that they are the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Understand, man, different. They not like us. Big facts. They are not like us, right? They don't step like us. It's a difference. Shout out to the ancestors, man. I love y'all. On this charming Semitic hypothesis, the Book of Mormon was founded, but there seems no ground for it, whatever, except in some semi-Jewish customs. Customs, however, that are common to various other nations as well, and may be only part of the common property of the human race. Then, the Phoenicians are supposed to have aided in the colonization of America, and there is a legend that a Welsh prince, Maddo, about 1,000 years ago, landed and colonized the country. All these are mere vague traditions, and though it just barely be possible that there may have been an admixture of Europeans in America. When they say Europeans, they mean Moors, family. Moors. The Maddo probably really anciently connected to the Mandans, right? Or the Medes, right? The Medes, the biblical Medes. So these could also be Canaanites or sons of Japheth, right? Or mixed Canaanites, Hamitic, and Shemitic peoples. You know, it could be, right? All these are mere vague traditions, and though it just barely be possible that they have been an admixture of Europeans in America long before Columbus was a Moor, or even his predecessors, the Old Norsemen. The Norsemen being the wild men of the North, discovered the continent. For instance, the Mandans of the Missouri, a tribe now extinct, had the Welsh coracle and many words said to be of Welsh origin among them. Right? Welsh origin. Look at that in America. Yet there is nothing certain or even reasonable in support of these ideas. On the contrary, not only are the Western Indians in appearance very like their nearest neighbors, the Northeastern Asiatics, but in language and tradition, it is confidentially affirmed that there is also a blending of the people. Right? The Western Indians are very like their Northeastern Asiatics, Northeastern Siberian Asiatics. But in language and tradition, there is a blending of the people. It takes us back to the cat and the Navajo. Not them hoes. Right? I'm telling y'all, when you're able to make these different correlations and pull these similarities together, it just makes history make a little bit more sense. I mean, because they're not telling us no lies according to the research, right? The Eskimo on the American and the Tehuktis on the Asiatic side of Bering Strait understand each other perfectly, right? Siberians and Eskimos understand each other perfectly. Finally, if more proof was required, we have only to point out that several canoes and junks from the opposite coast have been landed on the American coast, and that in the winter the natives will cross from either side of Bering Strait with their skin canoes on their heads. So they still going back and forth. Like I said, Mr. Dahl, who lived for some time in that district or country and paid particular attention to the question, unhesitantly declares his belief that the Northwest Indians, at least those of Alaska, are recent immigrants from Asia, and that indeed they are still coming over. I wish I could find that video of that Navajo trying to talk English. I'm telling you, because everybody else around him can speak English, but he can't. So either he was kept in a box, right, or in a cave. They had something tucked away in a cave, or somebody had him in a pocket or something, and he wasn't around civilization, Americans, right, for such a long time. Because how can this tribe, the Navajos, right, be here for so long? Every other tribe, these people, they know how to speak English. The only way you can't speak English is if you're a foreigner. I've met people who've been here for 2 years and can speak fluently. There ain't I can't say it again. It's none of that. I understand them clear as day. So till this day, they are still traveling back and forth. Till this day, I bet you, and this is gonna continue to Mongol wash things, here in America, because we already have a problem with us being able to connect ourselves to our history. They don't want that. They don't want us to be able to do that. They want us to be black, because this black has no type of, it holds no weight. Just be straight up with it. This is why Kamala Harris could get Megan Thee Stallion to come perform on national TV and make a mockery of young women, right? Because we know that wasn't aimed at older women. Older women not hearing that. They not jacking that, right? It's the young women. Right? It's making things harder. We having a hard time here in America as black people, being honest. So we gotta understand, man. This is why our research is important. But let's continue. They carry on extensive commerce across Bering Strait in skins, frames for boats, hunting and fishing equipments. The Asiatic immigrants are, however, confined to a few leagues of country along the coast in large rivers, while another people, or at least an earlier arrived one, inhabits the interior. The boundary line between the two races is very marked, and encroachments on each other's territories are never tolerated. If a hunter passes the line in the chase and kills any game, he can take the carcass away, but must leave the skin at the nearest village. The coast people and the interior ones never intermarry. Probably Japan, the Kuriles, and region thereabouts must be looked upon as the original home of the American race, or at least the greater portion of it. They say in Japan is the home for these people. In 1834, a Japanese junk was wrecked at Queen Heath to the south of Cape Flattery, and 3 survivors were sent back to Japan. Right, in 1834. Right, I'm just trying to see where these places are real quick. Cape Flattery. Where is Cape Flattery? Hold on, yeah, I'm having a hard time here. Computer tweaking. All right, Cape Flattery is on the northwestern point of the United States. Right, so a Japanese junker shipwrecked over here. So it been possible, right? They've been able to make that commute, right? They've been able to travel across the waters via boat. So this Bering Strait land bridge crossing thingy, we gotta debunk that because they just proved it to us right there. And 3 survivors were sent back to Japan. They had been driven off the island of Yesi, and losing their reckoning had drifted for about several months, during which time the crew, which had been originally 40 in number, had dwindled down by hardship and hunger to 3. Again, on the 21st of April 1847, in latitude 35 degrees north, longitude 156 degrees east, a Japanese junk was fallen, and with which had lost her rudder and had been driven to sea in a gale in November 1846. She had on board a crew of 9 men and about 2,000 pounds of beeswax and other cargo. On another occasion, an American whaler in 1847 fell in with a large junk of 200 tons burden, dismantled with her rudder gone, and otherwise injured in a typhoon which had occurred 7 months previously. The crew, originally consisting of 17 persons, were reduced to 14 and were in a most pitiable condition from famine, and all scarred with dirk and knife wounds for fearful scenes seem to have been enacted on board during the struggle for existence and amid the paroxysms of hunger and despair. Somebody snuck on a boat and killed them, but a whaler made encounters with this is another Japanese ship, and this is in the Pacific Ocean. The Indians have tradition that many years ago, long before the whites settled among them, a vessel laden with wax and apparently a Japanese junk was wrecked on their coast. Till this day, pieces of wax are tossed up, and at one time the Hudson Bay Company used to trade it from the natives. Very recently, a similar case was recorded in the newspapers, but above will suffice to show that there are no obstacles to prevent the America from having been originally peopled from the Asiatic coast. Check this out. It's an Aztec man, but look at his hair though, right? That color, that copper colored, curly, woolly hair, right? That colored, cooly, woolly, dooly hair, right? And then the flattening of the head. But you see, he still got that nose. I don't see no Chinese features though amongst this Aztec man, I'm not gonna lie. Right, based off the ancestral stories and the migration stories, I don't see no mongoloid features, right? But we can tell that this is of a copper-colored person. Definitely. Features say it all. Where we at? The number of tribes on the American continent is very remarkable, and the languages are equally multifarious. Though all of the general agglomerate construction. The famous Thomas Jefferson, President of the United States, was in the habit of pointing to this diversity of languages as proof of the antiquity of the American Aboriginal race. Thomas Jefferson was obsessed with this stuff, right? Obsessed with this stuff. Not gonna lie. So, you know, this is another testament to these presidents and also a lot of them, these political figures back in the day, knowing and understanding the truth. You know, it's just not being put out there. Anybody got any questions? Drop it in the comments. It points, however, to nothing more than that the native races of America have been always at war with each other, and confined therefore to isolated communities, holding little mutual intercourse with each other, and thus the languages have got further and further separated from each other. And given a general sketch of the American races, we may throw them into great groups of a more or less geographical character, the habits and in most cases the origin of the tribes being similar in these regions. Is an Eskimo in a kayak. Eskimo in a kayak. Check it out. And whatever y'all could take from this photo, take it and make your conclusions, man. This could be another copper-colored person. Just saying. They're going to talk about it now. Here's the very distinct family of the Americans that extends across the whole northern coast of the American continent, from Bering Strait on one side to Greenland on the other, coming as far south as Labrador on the Atlantic and the Yukon River on the Pacific seaboard. But throughout all this large area remaining a very distant and characteristic people, not differing very widely either in habits or language. The Lapps and Samoyeds of the European coast, though in some respects approximating to them, are yet of a different race, while the Tehuktis on the Asiatic shores, though adopting many of their habits, are probably an alien people who have taken possession of a country once inhabited by the Eskimo, right? Constantly invading, right? Tribes invading and replacing, invading and replacing, right? This is what they doing, right? They either replaced or commingled with that people. They are limited to the unwooded shores of the Arctic Sea, rarely going far into the country and having their proper home on the to us most desolate, cold, and forbidden part of the continent. An exploring or other Arctic going ship will hook onto the ice floe in some quiet bay, as silent and as dreary as ever the eye of man rested on. Snow is all around. Snow is falling fast. The very eye gets chilled with the sight. Even the water birds, gorged with blubber, sit in meditative rows on the edge of a piece floating ice. It seems a world unfinished from the hands of the Creator. a world unfinished from the hands of the creator. Dope. This is crazy. It's interesting to hear them say that. As we pace the snow-covered deck, alternately gazing on the snow-covered glacier-intersected land and the snow-laden frozen sails and shrouds, we are startled by a clear sound through the still Arctic air. We listen. Surely it cannot be the sound of man. Surely no man lives in this hope-forsaken place. Again, it is the sound of no seabird, the cry of no polar bear. It must be the echo of men's voices. The snow has ceased for a moment and the sun has peered out from behind the leading clouds. And afar off, on the white ice floe connecting the land and our vessel, we see some black specks. Black specks being what? Like people. As the specks approach nearer, we can make them out to be dog sledges filled with little fur-clad people. And in another place are numbers of skin canoes looking like large black dogs in the water, paddling through an open lane in the ice. Soon, with shouts of gladness and the howling of their motley dog teams, they are alongside men, women, and children, and standing, wild-looking denizens of the ice and snow, hailing everyone with cries of "Timu, Timu, good cheer, good cheer." These are the Eskimo, the most northerly family of the human race, and as well of the American subdivision of it. That they are Americans there can, I conceive, but be little doubt. Certainly on the eastern shores they differ widely from the Indians, but as you approach the Pacific coast, the imperceptibly insuculate the ones to the other language and even habits and customs. When in 1863 I first saw the Indians of the northwest coast of America, they seemed old friends of mine, and having only 2 years before passed the summer among the Eskimo of the western shores of Davis Strait, I was struck with their remarkable resemblance to the heavy-faced looking people who lined the road from Esquimalt to Victoria, right? Northwestern tribes looking just like Eskimos, right? From the Esquimalt to Victoria. In personal appearance, they are far from repulsive. Though not handsome, they saying they ugly. In height, they may be, which is also conjecture too, because anything to a European, if it's not a European, then it's ugly to them, and that's truth for them. Not facts, but that's their truth. In height, they might be about, on average, about 5 feet 6 inches, but tall men are now and then seen amongst them, and the notion that they are very small arises more from the style of their dress than from any real deficiency in stature. Their faces are flat, egg-shaped, and good-humored, with small, twinkling, rather sloping eyes, that Asiatic feature, and a flat nose meandering away on either side in an expanse of nostril into fat brown cheeks. Fat brown cheeks. They have color. Their color is fairer than that of many of the Indians, right? Fairer than that of many of the Indians, proving that the Indians are darker, right? They're not saying that they are white. They are fairer. So they have little to no color, but still hinting that they have brown cheeks. Their skin is usually very dirty and smoked. The natural color can rarely be seen. Their lips do not differ from much those of Europeans, right? Why is this? Well, because they have the same origin, right? From the caves. That's because they come from the caves in Europe. Like the brother said in the video, they are cavemen, right? These people, they are cavemen. These are the original cavemen. And as we get deeper into this is kind of why they carry themselves and behave the way they do. Right, living in a cave, you have no style of agriculture. You're not growing vegetables and fruits and fishing by the water. You can fish, right, but you're not doing a lot of that. It's not an abundance of agriculture. You know, you're not around the greenery and none of that. You in the cave, right, with sticks and stones and making fires and whatnot, cooking animals and stuff, eating raw flesh. Check what they say about their hair, though, right? Their hair is generally long, black, straight, and coarse. Oh, Why coarse? While few of them have any whiskers, beard, or mustache. A slight amount of hair on the upper lip and little on the chin being for the most part the only approach to these which the most hirsute of them possess. Their hands and feet are usually rather small, but their bodies are muscular and broad about their shoulders. Yet as a rule they are not nearly so strong as Europeans. The feats of ordinary sailors striking them as miracles of strength, right? They are stronger than Europeans though, and that's a fact, right? To live in that climate, you definitely stronger than the European. Their teeth are usually regular and well set, but in middle-aged and old people worn down, as among the Indians and many other savages, to the gum on account of the hard or sand-mixed food which their not overly clean habits allow them to consume without proper cooking or washing, right? Definitely different from us, right? They have not over cleanly habits. Not over cleanly habits. Yes, thin lips like monkeys. Yes, just like that. You're a clown. You're a clown, sis. You're a clown. But yeah, thin lips like monkeys, right? They don't have clean habits. They consume food without proper cooking or washing. Caveman antics. Gray-haired people are not uncommon. Though the Eskimo are not a short-lived people, take them as a whole. I have spoken of their dirty habits, which darken their otherwise not particularly swarthy complexions. Swarthy complexions. Why is this important? Well, we learned that the Mongols, Tartars, and many other peoples over there had swarthy complexions. Actually, there's a people of Japan, and they're called the Formosa. These, right, the Formosa people are the original inhabitants of Japan. These are the Australasian or the Australoid inhabitants of Japan. And they're called Formosa. They're Formosa peoples. See, map of Formosa. This is Japan though. And this was Japan before the conquest of the Mongols, before the Han Dynasty, before all of that stuff. Right? It's gonna say 1901, but that's because they reclaimed their ability to practice their indigenous languages and whatever the case may be. But these people are Australoid, which means they have color. They have color. They are of a swarthy complexion, right? Looking just like this, right? With their coarse hair. Let's make it make sense. I'm laughing because it's like what they talking about hair is this. That is that. But what we have to understand about a lot of these Australoids is that these people are mixed in with some of these Mongoloid, right? That's why they carry these features, a lot of these features, and even more now than before, right? But these are the swarthy, so to say, swarthy Eskimos that they may be talking about, right? Swarthy Eskimos, so to say, just without the thick lips, some with thin lips, right? Coppery color. But to water, they have a great dislike. Ooh, when they wash themselves, which is rarely, a dirty and offensive liquid often supplies the place of the usual toilet requisite. Ew. Definitely, like it's, and when I'm reading this stuff like this, that just stand out to me. I was raised off washing my butt, right? You better make sure you clean, right? And this is something that been in families, at least from where I'm from, for a long time. I mean, the Moors brought the bathhouses to the Europeans during the Dark Ages, right? Or before that, if I'm not mistaken. So I know for sure any indigenous person or blood of mine does not come from not washing my butt. Swarty or not, I don't care what it says. That's disgusting. Imagine the doo-doo stains that they had in their drawers. I'm telling you, sis. I'm telling you, this is why I bring a lot of this stuff to like realization. Like, you see, like with the lips and all of that, I bring a lot of it to realization because we have to understand, right? This is the physical makeup of a lot of the peoples that we see today. Look at them thick sideburns, hairy people. And I ain't trying to throw no shots at, like, it's ain't about throwing no shade or anything like that. It's just talking about the truth. Every time people tell me all the time I look Arabic, I'm not Arabic though. Not one bit. At least to my knowledge, I may have some type of blood that comes from the Middle East, according to my ancestry, you know, the European side and the Jew side, the Israelite side, but that's about it. I mean, but to throw a shot, this ain't about throwing a shot, it's just talking facts. Like, you look at the people, they look like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even gonna say them, but you gonna say and tell me they don't look alike? We would be lying to ourselves to say that we don't see a common relation between this and this. I'm just saying. Right? I'm just saying. Right? But yeah, let's continue. Yeah, to water they have a great dislike. When they wash themselves, which is rarely, a dirty and offensive liquid often supplies the place of the usual toilet requisite. Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. That was love, you know. That was love. I appreciate it. I love my copper colors, man, and I'm not letting nobody take it away from me, man. I love my indigenous swarty or coppery features, and this is what I promote. And self-love. Everybody should love how they look off the rip. Love it. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's not a shot, you know, but they look alike. I'm just saying. Right? They look alike. Right? Look, if however they wet their feet, they never rest until they change their boots. They did not like water. The cold climate rendering them stiff and the feet icy after their immersion. I can't blame them though. It's extremely cold, but I gotta take a shower. It is probably the cold climate which gives them such empathy to washing, right? It is probably the cold climate, like I just said. None of them can swim, as the chilly water soon freezes them, and even if they had learned the art, it would render the exercise of it impossible. And only black people can't swim. I know how to swim, but I met a lot of black people who don't know how to swim. So maybe this is something that could connect them to black people, right? I'm just saying. Nah. If the mother wishes the child to look a little more cleanly than the dirt and smoke of an Eskimo hut would naturally allow, she applies her tongue to the infant, and the result is satisfactory to the infant. So when the baby is dirty, they lick the baby till it is clean. That is animalistic behavior. That is animalistic behavior. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. I'll be damned. They lick their babies until they're clean. Look, this is why I said, y'all, let's just stop and just look at it for a second. After what I just read, they lick their babies until they clean. Right? Am I lying? Am I lying? That's all I'm saying. There's no lies being told. There's no lies being told whatsoever. Right, but yeah, let's continue. In like manner, after she has cooked a piece of meat, she licks any sand or dirt off of it before handing it to her husband or guest. Nasty. The men hairs hangs in long disheveled locks down their back, right? Locks. While the woman is more artistically dressed, being drawn up to the top of the head and then tied in a knot with a bit of reindeer skin or similar material. Some of them allow a plaited lock to hang down at either side of the neck. The dress of the children is only a miniature edition of that of the adults, and is the same for males and females until they are 3 or 4 years old, when some slight changes are introduced. The dress of the men and women is very much of the same, and though it differs slightly among different tribes, is yet on the whole very similar throughout. The men wear a short jacket made of sealskin or reindeer fur, with a hood behind, which hood can be drawn over the head and ears, exposing nothing but the face. In the winter season, underneath this jacket, which is put on by drawing it over the head like a shirt, the Eskimo usually wears another with the fur inside, or a shirt made of bird skins. Their trousers among the wilder tribes are made of seal, bear, or reindeer skin and usually reach just below the knee, and are made so loose that a pair of boots can go under them, which, with a pair of large fingerless skin gloves, complete the dress. The boots are very excellent, made of native tanned sealskin, chewed soft by the women until it is in a condition to be manufactured. The way the uppers are crimpled so as to be sewed with sinew threads to the soles is most ingenious. The soles are also made of sealskin of stronger quality. The boots are stuffed with grass and have a stocking of reindeer or sealskin with the hair inside. The whole forms an article of wear infinitely superior to anything of European make. Indeed, Europeans, if they had occasion to travel among the Eskimo, soon cast off their clumsy and flexible boots and adopt the light, elegant, and warm Eskimo foot gear. Stole it straight from them. But I won't say steal it. It just goes to show that Europeans are aboriginal to nothing. With the exception of, let's just say, maybe Indo-Europeans, coming from out of the Caucasus, whatever that may be. But they create nothing, they don't do nothing, right? Even here, surviving in the cold, the climate where they are especially good at, they had to steal it from somebody else. But the Eskimo and the European have a common relation. All right, let's move forward. The dress of the woman is much the same, only if the woman is a mother, her jacket has a large hood behind, in which the baby is carried. Its little head either bare or covered with a cap woven out of the hair of the white Arctic hare, just peeping over its mother's shoulder or reaching over to partake of nourishment. As the family plod through ice and snow on the weary march from one hunting ground to another. The trousers of the women are generally shorter and tighter than those of the men, and the boots are made of sealskin, tanned white and with wide tops stretching high over the knees. These wide tops afford excellent pockets or hiding places for any unconsidered article they may come across. And finally, the woman's jacket has a tail behind like the tail of an evening coat, which is, however, in general tucked up to keep it from trailing on the ground. And we're going to skip through the rest of the dress because that stuff is not really important. Most of the savage tribes tattoo themselves on the face, but this custom, contrary to the statements in most books, is not now practiced among the semi-civilized Greenland Eskimo, though in former times it was. The pattern simply consisted of blue lines produced by drawing a needle and sinew thread smeared with lampblack under the skin. But every tribe has its own mode of tattooing. To the west of the Mackenzie, the men cut a hole in their lower lip, right? This lower lip stuff being something also prevalent amongst some of the tribes of West America, the southwest of America. California, Arizona, Texas, the Navajo, cutting holes in their lips and whatnot. Near the corner of the mouth, which they fill with elaborate of bone, stone, or metal. Sir John Richardson informs us that at the mouth of the Mackenzie, small green pebbles are obtained, which when neatly set in wood or brass are used for this purpose. Right, and moving forward, because they're going to continue to talk about their dress and style and look or whatever the case may be. Check this out. Eskimos in their small, tiny little fishing canoes. Right, they kayaks. That's what they call them, kayaks. The origins of the kayak. Right. Where we at? Let's move on to the next page. Right. No water can enter the kayak, and as the canoe man paddles along his face to the point to which he is going, propelling and steadying the kayak with alternate strokes of the long double paddle, the sea may dash over him with impunity. He rides buoyantly on the surface of the waves, often with the seal fastened at either side. If the spray, freezing on the sides of the kayak, accommodates him, he scraps it off with the blunt bone knife he carries in the straps in front of him. He can even overturn the kayak and right it again, but not unfrequently the ice cuts holes in it. When the fate of the buttoned-in kayaker is death by drowning, if he comes to a neck of ice between two spaces of open water, he forces the canoe on the ice, gets out of it, and carries it on his head until he can again launch it in open water. On the shores of the Bering Strait, some of the kayaks are made with two holes and are paddled by two men. There is another boat called the amiyak, which is also made of sealskin on the framework of whalebone or wood, but it is open on the top and of a more or less oblong form. It is essentially the woman's boat being used to carry them, the children, dogs, and baggage from one place to another. It is propelled by the woman with single paddles or oars and is steered by an old man who keeps up a stern discipline over his charge, not being at all particular what he throws at his chattering crew. The dog sled is made of two runners of wood, pointed at the end with crossbars forming a sort of platform. In front, attached to long traces, the dog's large wolffish brutes are fastened by sealskin harnesses, while behind is a sort of screen on which spare harnesses whips lines are hung. Now, one thing I want to make extremely important about this part. Like I said, religious customs, styles of hunting, all of this stuff, it all has an origin. It all has an origin. Saying that to say, in their very ways and customs, it proves, and they will also say it themselves, that they derive from these tribes in Siberia. Because these tribes in Siberia practice in the same stuff. These ket, the reindeer breeding, the fishing, right, the sledding, the kayaks, all of it is of Siberian, makeup. These people created these ways of living. They created that, right? Check this out. We move on to another part. The Eskimos are enormous eaters, right? And take most of their food raw. They take most of their food raw, which means those folks in Siberia practicing the same things. Even the Mongols, they did a lot of this stuff too. Not cooking of the food and eating animals and whatnot, right? Or eating, some people even eating people, right? Eating the blood or eating the organs, stuff like that. And they're eating this stuff in a frozen condition, right? To eat 8 or 9 pounds of meat is not accounted an extraordinary feat. A man will lie on his back while his wife feeds him with the tidbits of flesh and blubber when he is utterly unable to move himself. Their powers of fasting are equally extraordinary. Fat of every kind comes natural to them and is necessary to keep up the animal heat of the body. In eating, they cut off a large piece of flesh and take it between their feet. Then with the knife, between their teeth. Then with the knife, cut off a bit and so on, severing the attachment between the bit and the lump until the whole is gone. Now that's how they ate, right? We try eating like that, and I've said this before. There's a chance you may pass out and die. There's a huge possibility that you may pass out and die. Right? Check this though. We're gonna touch bases on a little bit more about these people. Then we're gonna conclude this though, right? These Eskimo, right? And what else can I show y'all, right? And we could pick up on this in the next video, right? But just check out these images though, right? These people look Australoids, like Austronesian or whatever the case may be. They look copper colored. They look copper colored. Not even gonna lie. Right, but we learned that some of the people, like I said, from over there, you know, they have these colors, right? They have these colors, right? Check this out. So what they say: when made very tender by keeping it, it is consumed raw. Look at that. If more deer are killed in the summer than can be consumed, part of the flesh is dried, dehydrated. But later in the season, it is merely laid up in some cool cleft in the rock where wild animals cannot reach it, and it should be considered tainted before the cold weather comes on. It is only the more agreeable to the Eskimo palate. When made very tender by keeping, it is consumed raw or after very little cooking. In the autumn also, the migratory flocks of geese and other birds are laid under contribution, and salmon, trout, and fish of various kinds are taken. In this ways, a winter stock of provision is procured, and not a little is required, as the Eskimo, being consumers of animal food, only get through a surprising quantity. In the autumn, the berries of the cranberry, the blueberry, creeping Arctic brambles, and the half-digested lichen and the paunch of the reindeer are considered to be a treat. But in other seasons, this people can never taste vegetables. And even in the summer, animal food is alone deemed essential. Not like us. Why? Because we can taste vegetables, right? Our palates is used to that. Like if you try eating like some of these people, right? Even the Mongols, right? Or even like how some of these tribes that have this ancestry today, you would get sick. You will get sick because it's not meant for you. It's not ancestral to you. And yeah, melanated Eskimos, right? They melanated Eskimos. They got them. The Tartars, the Japanese, and the Chinese Huns, right? The Finns, the mad different people over there. You got colored people, melanated people out the ass over there, and a lot of them migrated over here. They migrated over here. That's a fact. Look, carbon is supplied to the system by the use of much oil and fat in the diet, and draughts of warm blood from a newly killed animal are considered as contributing greatly to preserve the hunter in health. No part of the entrails is rejected as unfit for food. Little cleanliness is shown in the preparation of the intestines. This means they eat in the intestines with the poop still in it. Or when they are rendered crisp by the frost, they are eaten as delicacies without further cooking. Ew. And they killed whales, right? They killed whales. But this is why I say they copper colored though. You look at them and then look at the depiction that they give us here of this man, right? It's different. Like the hair is different. A lot of it is just different, right? And these people know what they doing when they put these depictions out there. They know what they be doing, man. But at the same time, they still ain't us. They are not us, right? They are not us. Asiatic people can be melanated. Yes, they can. But they are not us. These people are the cousins, right, of the Siberians and some of the Native American tribes that we see in America today. And just like that, I conclude that one. Another banger. Some more heat, some more fire, a lot of information that we brought into this one. Right? It goes hand in hand with the Mongol and Tartar invasion of America, because, and like we learned in that one, we see that this invasion from these Siberian tribes, it was an ongoing thing, and many different tribes were coming here into the Americas, changing their language, but bringing over the customs, bringing over the religious ways, the sun and moon worship, right? The practice of eating raw flesh, right? Like a lot of that. They brought all of that stuff with them from Siberia here to America. And some of them fleeing either from the Khan or being a part of that same makeup. And like we just learned today, right, the tribes of the Northwest and the Southwest are much closely related to those of the Pacific Asiatic coast than those of the eastern parts of America, of the Southeast and the Northeast. Right? We are more related to those who come from the West or from the South, because far west is still Mexico. And west further from that, you just keep going down and keep going down. You have migrations all over the place. And this is why we got to understand, this is American history. Not 1776, not Emancipation Proclamation. Yeah, we dealing with a lot of that stuff today. But there wouldn't be in America without any of this stuff that happened before. And we got to understand that there's a big difference between us who dwelt here and them who came here. Right? Who came here, who they became Native Americans, right? Because their children were born here. Right? But we are indigenous and shall remain as such. You know, for some folks, not gonna say for everybody. You know, some people got African ancestry. A lot of us have that European ancestry, which brings us back to the Middle East. Not saying you're Arabic, right? But that's where you dwelt. That's where your ancestors dwelt. You know, migrations all over the place. People been coming to America before the 1400s, 1300s, 1100s, 1000. They've been coming here since 700, 600 AD, and probably before that. America is the true old world. That's why we got the mounds and the temples and all of that stuff that scientists still can't explain, right? They can't explain it, like how they call the Great Pyramid of Cholula. They say it's similar to the Tower of Babel. That's how deep you go, right? That's how deep they go. But yeah, man, it was another one. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Sis, you know, you be rocking out. I'm not gonna lie. When I drop this next coloring book, you gotta let me get it to you for free. I'm not taking nothing. There's nothing that's separating that. Anytime I put out any piece of content, you the first person I'm hitting up, and you gonna get it for sure. And anybody else who chooses to support, man, follow on Instagram, Copper Colored King. Follow on all platforms, Copper Colored King. Make sure you guys tune in. Every weekend we go crazy. We put out good content. We do stuff like this. We do the research every day. Every day. So we bringing these readings to y'all fresh. Right? Fresh off of memory. Fresh. And then we got the correlations to always go with it. Like I said, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Much love. I hope you have a great week. It's Monday. We out of here. I got to be up for work in the morning. Let's do it.